Hello, everyone. My name is Marin Jankovski, and I'm a senior engineering manager in the infrastructure department. Today, I'm going to explain how the delivery team creates patch releases, a specific type of release in our release schedule. For all of the information about types of releases that we have, you can take a look at, you can find it at our engineering releases handbook page, where we have a clear distinction between two types of workflows that are very much connected. One of them is self-managed release, and the other one are releases related to GitLab.com. So as I mentioned today, I'm going to be talking about preparing a self-managed release, more specifically a patch release for our previous monthly released version. I will guide you through the documentation that we have, but also through the commands that are listed, and I'll attempt to explain the purpose behind each and every one of them. So a release manager is assigned to any given release. Release managers can be found on in our handbook as well, or rather on our website. So you can see that we have a schedule per monthly release, and then names of the folks who are assigned to do the release, to do the specific release. Today we'll create a new patch release, and the reason for that is we have a number of bug fixes ready to go. And the way release managers decide to create a new patch release is obviously depending on demand. That demand might come from customers, it can come from developers, but periodically release managers will also check for a specific label that developers use to indicate that a certain release is ready. This label is called pick into and then the version number. And in our case, we are looking for pick into 12.6 because this is the release we are targeting. As you can see here, we have some 5 open merge requests with this label. However, given that they are not ready yet, we will not be including them most likely. We do have 10 merge requests with pick into label, which means that we have enough bug fixes ready of various priority to send out to send fixes to our customers. So with that, release managers usually reside in the docs repository of the release group. So inside of the release docs repository, we have a general process listed for patch releases, and we say that we want to radiate the information by that we are going to prepare a version by executing this command. So I already have the command ready in my window. So we specifically name the hash releases channel because this is a company-facing channel for all things related to releases. This is a place where all the developers and everyone else who is interested can interact with release managers, delivery team on any questions related to releases. By executing the chatops command, a number of things are going to happen. The reason we are using a chatops command is we have automated a number of things such as preparing the release issues, preparing the actionable items that we have in the release issues, and so on. It also allows us to do a couple of other things that I will show later on. For now, let's go to the job that the chatops created. So we use chatops to trigger our builds inside of our release tools project. Release tools is a project, a public one, that is there as an orchestrator of all of our releases. So as you can see right now, what is happening is we triggered the build that is now creating all the related items that we need for this specific release. So if I click on release 12.6.3, you will see that the issue is created in our release/tasks project. Tasks is a project that we use for general release task, as the name says, meaning we use this project to orchestrate our release, but also we have QA issues that are created and so on and so on. Couple of things worth observing here. So these templates, these issue templates that are created are also residing in our release tools project. And we have a couple of things to go through this issue. So if you check out on the right side here, we have three assignees because our release manager page that I apparently closed says that for any 12.6 related release, we have these three release managers assigned in the issue. If you check here, that actually matches. So the command worked well. We have a due date also set. This is an arbitrary date, just used as a reminder in cases where something delays a release. We just use it as a guideline there. And then we have a number of tasks in the release issue. So the release issue has a check boxes here. This is just like a sanity check, basically, for release managers to ensure that we are always executing the same commands. Another two things worth noting here is these two tasks that you see here that are prefixed with WIP for work in progress. Those are two merge requests that are created as a preparation for selecting the merge requests that are ready for porting to a new release. One of them is created in our GitLab repository, where all the work related to the Rails repository is created. And the other one is in our packaging project, as well, a preparation merge request. Nothing really too interesting to note here, apart from the fact that assignee is a release bot, the same bot that created the issue and is executing all of our tasks, and a short summary of what is going to actually happen when this merge request is being prepared. And as you can see here, we are targeting our stable branch rather than a master branch, which is the general workflow that everyone uses. So the reason for this is our stable branch indicates a branching in history. This is created at the moment we are sufficiently confident that whatever we decide to place in our monthly release that is named and recognizable by .0 in its name. So for 12.6 release, we would have 12.6.0 release that is delivered every 22nd of the month. This stable branch is tied to another event, and this is specifically related to GitLab.com releases. We only create a release out of a branch that has been deployed to GitLab.com. We call these branches auto-deploy, but those branches are created from master the same way other development workflows function. So Our stable branch that we saw here, 12.6 EE stable EE, is created from the auto deploy branch that is currently active on gitlab.com at the time of creation of the release. This gives us sufficient confidence that we have tried and tested all of the changes as much to our capability to ensure that what we deliver to our self-managed customers is ready for prime time. I will close some of these pages again to make it easier on myself to follow along. Basically, this concludes our process item here in our patch release doc, so I can close that as well, because all of our further actions, we are going to be able to use the release issue. All right, going further, there are a couple of other items that I'd like to highlight. For any monthly release, we also create a channel named f_release_ and then the version of the release. F in this name, branching name means feature, and this is a naming we use for general short-lived branches inside of our company. The reason for this is there is a lot of noise or something that could be considered noise created by the actions that we are taking. And quite often we have handover items like you could see here in the comment I'm highlighting right now. These things are generally not interesting for anyone apart from release managers or the delivery team handling the release. So in order to keep the discussions focused, we have a specific channel for each of those releases. If I go and execute a couple of commands, just to show what kind of actions day-to-day release managers are doing. First one that I'd like to highlight is related strictly to gitlab.com. This is not really important for the patch release because this uses a different workflow, but it is important to note that we have two processes very frequently overlapping handled by the same release managers. We are in a new cycle, so a new set of release managers is handling this one, but more often than not, the same release managers will also have to ensure that gitlab.com and all the environments of interest are in the consistent state. As you can see here, we have the version that we are targeting, the branch name of the currently active auto-deploy branch that was created out of master, the name of the packages, the revision that we are deploying, and so on and so on. And what you can also notice here is that Canary and staging currently have the same revision deployed, and production has a different one. Currently, there is an ongoing production deploy, ensuring that all SHAs here are on all environments. Another interesting command here is checking the status of mirroring. We use different repositories to develop, different repositories for security development, and also different repositories for builds or building of GitLab itself. The reasons are multiple here. First of all, we use the canonical repositories, as you can see here. Those are public repositories open to everyone, which is in line with the way we work. Those repositories are automatically mirrored to our security repositories. Security repositories are private forks of the canonical repositories. The reason for this is we need to ensure a place where we can develop these fixes in private to ensure that we keep the vulnerability out of public reach until we are ready to prepare a release. And then we also have those items mirrored to our build repositories, which are on a completely different instance, separate from gitlab.com. So the first two sections here, so the canonical and security repositories, both of them are on gitlab.com. One public, one private repository. Build repositories are on dev.gitlab.org, which is our build server. The reason for this separation is to ensure that we always have a fallback. If something is happening on gitlab.com, if there is an outage preventing us from doing our work, we can always default back to our build repositories to execute some work. And in order to keep things consistent and always tested, we ensure that we always build from our separate repository, and thus creating a separation between our production environment and how the production environment is built for. The command we ran here is showing us that all of these repositories that we are currently tracking have their commits synced in the same direction. So canonical and build at the moment have the same commit as their head. There are no exceptions, there are no errors in the mirroring. This is important in order to ensure that we have anything that we merge also ends up on all of three environments that we currently have. Zoom is now blocking my window, so I need to move that a bit. All right, so the first item in our release issue says preparation MR should be already created. We have confirmed that these items are created, so for now we are going to close them. Ensure that any backports targeting are merged their stable counterpart. The reasons for this, I'm going to explain very shortly, is if you take a look at these merge requests here, all of them are targeting master. Because master is ahead of our stable branches, so as soon as we create a stable branch, master diverges from it. Sometimes these merge requests won't pick cleanly. What we do when we trigger a merge command as noted in the release issue, this specific one, what we'll end up doing is for each of these merge requests, we are going to use the API to cherry pick the merge commit into the stable branch, thus making the merge request ready for porting to stable branch. In some cases, it is not possible to get these items cherry picked cleanly. So sometimes we have these merge requests that you can see here targeting the stable branch. In this case, we can see that we don't have any merged merge requests with the pick into label, which means these items are already handled by release managers. We do have two open merge requests with pick into label that are targeting 12.6 stable EE branch. Actually, one of them is only has the pick into, the other one is the one we just created with our release bot. So that means that we need to take care of this merge request. If this item doesn't pick cleanly by us from this section, by us triggering this command, we will need to take a manual action and merge this manually when it is ready. So I'm not going to merge them yet to show how this item works. Then we can copy this command into our chat window and just trigger a run release merge command. This command is going to do a couple of things. It is going to clone the repositories of interest, in this case, GitLab, a Rails repository, and Omnibus GitLab repository, and it is going to fetch the branches of interest, and it is going to then trigger the jobs that will pick everything that is necessary. What is interesting here while the job is loading is that this specific item that I mentioned, like the manual merge request, is already included in this checklist. So we'll need to ensure that this template is updated to show that we already have automatically populated this item, and we don't have to go through manually process for manually checking this whole thing. If I go and do the same thing here, you can already see that we only have 4 merge requests compared to 10 merge requests that we previously had. This means that this job is already getting some of the merge requests. So I'm going to show you how that ends up looking inside of the merge request itself. Every time we trigger this merge task, the GitLab release bot will leave a message with some details of what has actually happened. So the bot left a comment saying that the merge request is picked into our preparation merge request, and that preparation merge request will target this stable branch, and we are preparing this for 12.6.3 EE release. Then the bot also removed the pick into stable, indicating that this merge request picked cleanly and that there is no follow-up action to take for this specific release, which means that we will most likely have to focus, well, basically on none. It seems that everything has picked cleanly. So back to our job that ran, we can see how, or the output rather, of items that we just picked. I don't really understand. Oh yeah, I see what it is. So you can see that output of this job is all green, and it has the information or info level, apart from this merge request that says warning and says cherry pick failed for this specific merge request. So let's take a look at that one. Take a look at what has actually happened. All right, as expected. So this merge request is the reason why we have inside of the release issue this specific merge request. Developer rightly so expected that whatever was done in this merge request won't pick cleanly inside of the stable branch, and they prepared this backport merge request of this main merge request. So what has happened here? GitLab release bot has said that this merge request cannot be picked cleanly and will need a manual intervention. It also gives some indication to the developer on what needs to happen. So create a new MR targeting the source branch of that, and then assign to release managers, or solve the conflicts and then ensure that this label is applied. This label is now removed from GitHub from this specific merge request, indicating that we can't do any additional action, and we won't be including this specific merge request. Now, given that we actually have the merge request already prepared, so this specific one, there are 2 things we can do here. You see that 4 minutes ago, there was an action taken here. I will have to check what actually happened there, but the tests are running here, so we can't really do much with this specific merge request yet. I'm going to take a look at what was the mention here. All right, Yorick has just changed the description to ensure that we are aware of this ongoing thing. And back to the release issue, you can check out that GitLab release bot has actually also created this snippet here with items that it successfully picked. And this item will specifically be useful for us when we end up creating a blog post. So release managers then can just copy this block into the monthly release blog post. All right, let us close some of these windows. What I'm going to do here specifically with this merge request that is targeting the stable branch, I'm going to change the target to make sure that we are targeting the same preparation merge request. The reason why developer created a merge request targeting the stable branch is because obviously this branch didn't exist at the time. So with this, I can just say save, we are targeting a different branch. The developer has already approved this merge request, and I am going to assign this to myself. There is some opposing information there, and I think I want to make sure that because I'm handling this release, I am the one responsible for it. All right, I can't do much with this until it passes. We won't be merging the merge request into a preparation merge request until this specific merge request passes. So in the meantime, we can just check the rest of the output here, and we don't have to do anything. Release managers would not usually look at this output here. Release managers will most likely look at this to make sure that everything is merged, and this specific item here as well to make sure that there is no open pick into labeled merge requests. The only thing left are these two items, which unfortunately we will most likely omit from this release. Now, with this, we can check off our run release merge item, and I'm going to check off these items as well. And the next item shown here says merge the preparation branches. Now, we won't be merging the preparation branches yet because we now have this merge request containing all of the preparation branches, with release bot again leaving a comment saying, I picked this merge request successfully, this one failed, we already know why, and this is a handy information for release managers to know what they should be focusing on next. There are 11 commits here, a lot of changes picked, so we need to ensure that the pipeline passes for this specific branch. Once it does pass, we will be able to merge and continue with our release. We won't be waiting in this recording for making sure that this is done. So I'm going to scroll a bit further up and show how this was done for one of the prior releases. All right, I might have chosen the wrong one, but also a nice one as well, because we had a failure in our mirroring here in .1 release, so it might be interesting to show how that looks as well. When we are ready to prepare the release, as our release issue says here, we will merge the preparation branches. So only when this is completely green, release manager is going to approve, resolve the work in progress status, and merge into branches. We will do that for both merge requests, both for Omnibus and for GitLab EE. So in this case, these two merge requests are linked here, and release managers can easily go and just make sure that branches are merged, because we didn't have anything to pick for this specific Omnibus release for 12.6 stable. Most likely we are just going to close this merge request, and it will be a no op. As when we ensure that the builds are green, there is a reason for that. If we tag a release and the build is red in Omnibus, that means we will not be able to build a package, which means that we won't be able to build a specific version. And because tagging makes sure that we use the specific tag in all of the repositories, we will have to do some manual work, and we would rather avoid that. The next step here is packaging. Packaging is very simple. We would be running this mirror status command to ensure that everything is green and passing. We do have this manual item that I would like to remove here, because we now do have this command to allow us to see the mirroring status. And with that, we would be running this command, chat run release tag. So let us take a look at one of those. Let me select, where is it now? I just had it in my view. There we go. Let's use this job. So even though it failed, we know why it failed. It failed because of mirroring that was broken. I'm going to run you through the job that actually tags the builds. What happens here? A couple of things are happening in the background. Preparing repository, we start with our GitLab repository, so GitLab Rails repository. This command will fetch the repository out of cache and then update the necessary remotes. And the next item that the release tools will do is it will compile a changelog. So let me go and quickly go through this. And let's check the stable branch to see how this currently looks, specifically for 12.6 release. You can see here that for 12.6.1, Alessio was the one preparing the release. He merged the preparation branch into the stable branch. So this is what we will end up doing. If you check, once we tagged, we have this compiling changelog item for this specific version. That is this command here, or rather commit here. So there is no specific EE related feature changed in this release. So the release bot inside of the release tools, obviously like the release tools command, will just leave a placeholder saying no change. The next one is applicable to every edition of GitLab, and it shows that we have 2 bug fixes and 1 performance fix, and then it also links to the merge request. We also see 3 deletions. Those deletions are basically the source of truth for our bots to create this changelog item. Once it does create and commit to the changelog file, it removes the unnecessary files, indicating that there is nothing else to do with this anymore. The next item here is bumping version. So it will, inside of all of our version files, it will compile the new version file here. Version, I guess. It then does a push to all remotes to make sure that we are on time with pushes and not depending on mirroring, which can be slightly delayed. And then it goes and creates a tag with this name. So on top of this version commit, we will also create an annotated tag. And that will also be synced to all the repositories. Now, this gets repeated for multiple other repositories. Omnibus GitLab packaging repository, and then also Helm charts repository will also do the same thing. GitLab CE is the next. So this is the one indicated here by GitLab FOSS. The reason why this one specifically failed was, like I said here, because of the mirroring failure. We have since resolved this issue, so we won't be seeing that again. But there is nothing else really interesting here to indicate apart from that the same way the GitLab EE release has been handled, GitLab CE release will be handled as well. What this does though is on our build server, we can check this by going to our pipelines. Let me go actually to the tags so I can show how that looks on a specific tag. We have pushed all the, all right, we have created a lot of tags. All right, we have pushed two specific versions of 12.6.1 here, CE and EE related. This will independently build packages for Community Edition and for Enterprise Edition. Given that we've been focused on the Enterprise Edition or the main repository so far, let's take a look at that. Nothing unusual here. The release bot has created a tag in Omnibus that got synced here to dev, and then we can just check out how this looks inside of dev.gitlab.org. Inside dev.gitlab.org, we have a couple of things happening. First of all, we have bumped the version file, indicating that we are creating the EE release, and then we have two pipelines. Why do we have two pipelines? Well, one pipeline is running on a tag, and the other pipeline is running on a stable branch. This stable branch one has different actions than the tagged one. So let's take a look at the tag one, because that one is the one from which we create the jobs. In order to save some time and not duplicate the same work that is being done between GitLab and Omnibus repositories, we wait for assets to be built inside of the GitLab repository, where production assets such as CSS files, JavaScript, images, and so on get compiled, ready for production consumption. We then have all these items here worth going through really quickly. So we create a QA image. This QA image will ultimately be used to automatically test our instances. And then we have two isolated items in the package part. So we have 16.04 and Ubuntu 18.04 that is created prior to any other. The reason for this is we want to ensure that these packages are built first, and the rest of the process can be triggered quicker than actually waiting for all of the packages to finish. The reason for that is we have Ubuntu 16.04 and 18.04 in our environments, and this is what we use to deploy. This item is just a placeholder, not even a placeholder job, but once the Ubuntu 16.04 package is completed, this job is going to upload the package and then trigger the deployment on a specific environment. Given that this is a patch release, this deployment will end up in our pre.gitlab.com environment automatically and will be automatically deployed there. While it's being deployed there automatically, other package flavors are going to be built. So all of these repository, all of these jobs rather, build different packages for our system. So deployment on pre and package build happens at the same time, or rather in parallel. Whichever happens first will trigger a notification. So I can't go and show how this looks in our announcement channel, but actually I can if I stop the sharing. Let me do that. Let me stop the share screen and then highlight one deployment to the pre-environment to just show how this looks on there. All right, I found one. I don't know what's happening with Slack, but Slack is for some reason blanking on my screen. All right. So if you take a look at the items that I'm highlighting here, the pre-environment has been deployed from that specific job. It has all these different things. Now, this is the first time I'm showing this instance. Ops instance is another separate GitLab instance that we use to operate this whole process. So far, we had gitlab.com where the development happens, build repositories on dev.gitlab.org where the build happens, and then ops instance where we have repositories that are used to operate various infrastructure-related instances that we have. So this pipeline that you see here was related to the job I highlighted here in Slack. So announcement channel is used to inform us of ongoing deployments, changes, and so on. And 12.6.1 Enterprise Edition package was deployed on pre. With deployment to pre, we have a couple of things worth noting here. This is basically a copy of how our production and staging and all of our environments are also deployed. So we do some validation first. We prepare the environments by downloading the packages, ensuring there are no errors. We fetch the assets and execute migrations. Then we roll out at the same time to a subset of fleet all of our packages. So this means that the pre-API will not be rolled out all at the same time, but with certain concurrency. So say we have 10 API nodes on pre, we will only roll out maybe 2 at a time. And that way we ensure that we always have availability of our nodes to serve the traffic. This happens across the nodes. All of them need to pass before we run the follow-up tasks, post-deploy migrations, and then we execute automated QA tests. Automated QA tests are mimicking the behavior of a user, which would maybe like login, clone repository push, and a bunch of other things here. And only when the QA passes here, we will be doing some finish jobs, meaning cleanup, information, sending information, and so on and so on. All right. Once the deployment is ready and all the packages are built, all of these packages that we see, we are now back in our build instance where we build all our packages. When the packages are all built, they get uploaded to a staging package repository. That staging repository is only there to hold the packages until we are ready to release them to public. This happens by once we are ready, like I said, once we are ready to release. So we would tick all these boxes when we are ready, when all of those pipelines are green. This item here is just there for release managers to have a fallback in case the deployment for some reason didn't happen. But we should probably remove that, given that I don't think it has happened yet that we had an issue here. So similar to that, we also have, similar to the automated testing, we also have a sanity check here. You can see that we can also create a QA issue that will create a diff between the two versions to ensure that we have this listed and all of the stakeholders in this process have a chance to manually also verify their change. Generally, this issue is informational, and we rely on automated deployments and QA tests to ensure validity of our environments. When we are ready to publish the packages, meaning blog post is ready and we are ready to publish our release to our self-managed customers, we will trigger this command. Publish command will do a couple of things. I will go and find this again in our release channel. All right, here you can see chat run publish 12.6.1 and then look at the publish job here. Again, release tools is the one handling this whole thing. What ends up happening here is we trigger a job on dev.gitlab.org inside of Omnibus GitLab repository. You cannot see that now here, but you see that there is like a play button here, right? This play button, or rather these builds were all grayed out. They were not executed. So this specific job will trigger all of these manual items here, play them basically, and that would do a couple of things, actually only one. It will only take the staging packages, so packages from the staging repository, and it will put them in a public repository. There are some other items here, cleanup jobs, and so on and so on. When the packages are published, so all of them are run in parallel, we also have a similar thing for our Helm charts. So we publish the Docker images that we create, and we publish the Helm chart that we created at the same time. And we also do a couple of other cleanup items, basically, which is syncing between build repositories, canonical repositories, and security repositories, making sure that our mirroring is intact and that all the tags, all commits, everything is out ready for folks who are using our installation from source. With packages being published, we have two verify steps which allow us to go and make sure that the packages are available for public. And we create, by clicking this here, we create a new version inside of version.gitlab.com. This will indicate to all instance operators who are looking for that update notification to look out for a new version of GitLab that we just published. And we at the same time go and merge the blog post that we created, and that will indicate to the public that the packages that you're seeing appearing now, these are the changes that we are showing off. And finally, we tweet about it by posting to our content updates channel. This concludes the release, and release managers will then close this specific issue. So in the interest of time, I am not going to go through other types of releases that we have, and I hope this was useful information for you, and look out for new items that I will be recording related to GitLab.com releases and preparation of a monthly .0 release that we have. Thank you so much for watching, and see you some other time.